All right, we are moving into chapter 13. We're not covering a ton of this because we covered a little bit of the unit circle, but we are going to talk about radian measure. Radian measure is the arc length S. It is defined to be the ratio of the arc length S to R. Now notice R is the radius length, so that's going to be here. And they say all of this is theta. Theta is equal to S over R. One thing that we need to know is our calculator, we've been using it in degrees lately, but now we will look at things in, well, we don't really have to switch our calculator, but I want you to know that this is what radians is. Radians is equal to 180 degrees. So if I want to convert from degrees to radians, I will multiply by pi over 180. And if I want to convert from radians to degrees, we will multiply by 180 over pi. And again, it doesn't matter what your calculator is in because this is not going to change. So the first question says express 135 degrees in radians. Well, let me show my little work up here. In yellow, it says in order to go from degrees to radians, we're going to multiply by pi over 180. So I'm going to take 135 degrees, and I'm going to multiply by pi, which I'm just going to use as a variable, over 180 degrees. Notice the degrees will cancel out, and I get 135 pi over 180. Now we know that this can be reduced, and I'm just going to encourage you, if you're doing this on a calculator, just look at these as numbers and pi as the variable. So if I do 135 and divide by 180 and hit math frac, or do it as a fraction, I know that this is equal to 3 pi over 4. All right, the next question's asking us to express 4 pi over 5 in degrees. Well, if I look at my bright pink, it says to go from radians to degrees, use 180 over pi. So I have 4 pi over 5, and I'm just going to multiply that by 180 over pi. And notice what happens with my pi's. They do cancel out. And again, I get 4 times 180. And I'm going to push equals here, and then I'm going to divide by 5, and I get 144. So that is equal to 144 degrees. All right, the next two questions are just moving on with the same concept. We are expressing 34 degrees in radians. So remember that I have to take 34 degrees, and I'm going to multiply that by pi over 180 degrees. Degrees cancels out, and what do I get? So if we did this the way that we just did it and hit math frac, we do get 7 pi over 36. So I know that this is equivalent to 7 pi over 36. Now, your curriculum today wants us to actually use pi, so I will make sure that when I take 34, all right, so this one told us to round to the nearest hundredth, so if I round to the nearest hundredth, I do get 0.59. So when it says round to the nearest hundredth, know that we're going to put pi in on our calculator and find a decimal. So the next question is the same sort of thing. It says express 3 radians in degrees to the nearest tenth. Well, pay attention to where they're rounding it to. So if I take 3 and I multiply it by 180 over pi, and I put that in my calculator, I end up with 171.9 degrees.